Good Tuesday evening, River family. This is Pastor Cal. Just leaving the church office, headed home. And it's been a long day, productive day, nonetheless. But I had to pull over and just share my heart with you real quick. The Lord prepared this little end of day masterpiece for me for my ride home, I guess. And I couldn't help but think about the faithfulness of God. And as I was driving, there's a scripture that came to my mind. It's in John chapter 14, verse 1. It says, "Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." And he goes on to say, it's that very well-known passage of scripture where Jesus is talking just before his ascension. And he says, "I go away to prepare a place for you. In my Father's house are many mansions." And then he makes this interesting statement. He says, "If it were not so, I would tell you." And I just thought about how honest God is, how truthful and how faithful he is. And that Jesus would make the statement, don't worry, if it weren't true, I wouldn't say it. And it just makes me think about all the other promises that we read in Scripture, all of the things that God has promised us. And I think if he would go to such little detail to tell us, to make sure that we knew that if there was something that wasn't true, I would tell you. If it wasn't something you could hang your hat on, if it wasn't something that you could lean on and trust in, I'll tell you. That's why he says, lean not under your own understanding, because that's not a good place to lean on. But we can lean on the understanding of God. I was up last night at about 2 o'clock, and I was praying and just seeking the Lord. I couldn't sleep. I had planned on going to bed at just before midnight, but the Lord had other plans. And I said, "God, what is it that you're wanting to say?" I felt like there must have been something that he had to say. And when I finally felt the release in my spirit to go to bed, it was just before that the Lord spoke to my heart and he said, "Fear is the fertilizer that your faith grows from." I had never heard that before. I've never heard anybody else utter that. And I felt like that was the little nugget that the Lord wanted to drop in my spirit. So I want to leave you tonight with this thought that in spite of how long this thing drags on, and they're saying now tonight even extending the quarantine until the end of April, but regardless of how long this thing goes, and no matter how many times we may have the tendency to fear and get anxious about it, just know that it's okay. It's normal. As long as we don't let fear in the driver's seat. Fear can be a passenger. It's always there. You just have to let your faith be the one that's driving the vehicle. So we just continue on in spite of the anxiety. We continue on in spite of the fear that we hear in the news. I feel like they're really feeding on those things and the uncertainty and trying to really propagate that more than any other message we're hearing. But what should we expect from the world? So just remember that your faith grows out of the fertilizer that is fear. Maybe it's a good way to look at fear as being nothing more than dung. God bless you guys. I'm going to send you out an email tonight with a link for our Zoom Bible study tomorrow night. And there'll be a handout that you can either print out. If you don't have the printout, you can go by the church. I've left several in a box outside the door that are accessible to you. God bless you. Have a great night. Love you guys.